Hey, grace and peace to you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Dezay. I'm the pastor here at Sandy Hook United Methodist Church. It's good to be with you on this Friday. I hope you've had an amazing week. I've had a great week. And I hope you have an amazing weekend upcoming. And I hope you, like me, look forward to worshiping with your church family here at Sandy Hook. We have two services on Sundays. We have an 8:45 a.m. traditional service and an 11 a.m. contemporary service. So I invite you to join us for worship on this coming Sunday. And I will share a preview of the sermon here in a second. But first, a devotion based on a question that someone from Sandy Hook asked me about the first sermon in the Story of God series. We talked about creation. Act 1 is creation. And here's the question that someone from Sandy Hook asked me. Let me read it to you. Pastor, I had a question about the Bible. It says in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, that the creation of nature, the birds, the fish, and the creatures of land were given to man to rule over them and to have dominion over them. That's true. I wonder if this has contributed to man exploiting Earth resources and contributed to global warming, the growing number of endangered species. And it says, many people and tribes, Native Americans, for example, see man as part of nature to live in harmony with all of nature. I would welcome your thoughts and comments on this. So first off, does the dominion, man ruling over dominion, have a result in some of the things that we're seeing in our environment today? Absolutely. Absolutely. And let me explain it to you by going to the Bible. I'm going to read a few verses in the Old Testament and then read a few verses in the New Testament. I hope that you find this very helpful. All right, Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 to 28, we see the mandate given to humanity to take care of all of creation. So, verse 26, then God said, let us make man in our image and our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and of the birds of the air, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over all creatures that moved along the ground. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. And then verse 28, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it. Now that's the key word, subdue. Rule over the fish and in the sea, of the birds of the air, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 to 28, the mandate given to humanity to take care of creation. The key word there is subdue. So, Adam and Eve were given the charge to rule and reign over creation, to have dominion over it, to subdue it. That's all royal king language. God, the king, created all that is, and said to Adam and Eve as his stewards to rule and reign and have dominion, to subdue creation. So we're stewards of God's creations, not our creations, God's creation. And so what we see here is that word for subdue is the Hebrew word kabash. Now that word kabash maybe is familiar in slang and in English language means, to put the kibosh on it. And in Hebrew, that word has good and bad connotations. And so listen to the definition of the Hebrew word kabash, translates the English word subdue. It means to exploit, enslave, abuse, rape. Those are some pretty harsh words. But it also means to tame, to bring order out of chaos, to put things in harmony or bring things in harmony. So notice that there's this one word, subdue, has good and bad connotations to it. And that is exactly what we see in the history of humanity. Humanity has taken this challenge and has done what God has called us to do, to take care of, to bring things into harmony and order, to bring order out of chaos. We have taken care of creation with one hand, and on the other hand, we have not. We've exploited creation, we've enslaved it, we've abused it, we've raped it. And so that is leading to a lot of these environmental problems that we see in our world. Global warming, endangered species, all of these things are a result of man's misuse of creation. We're stewards. We don't own creation. We can't use it for our own profitability. We can't use it for our own benefit unless it lines up with what God has designed for creation. And so we see in this mandate, this challenge, this charge, this call that God has given to all of us, as we're all, in the purest sense, environmentalists, to take care of God's creation. Now, a lot of Christians do not believe that we should take care of creation because they believe that creation's all going to be destroyed in the end anyway. And so why take care of it now? Well, I would challenge Christians because I believe that God is not going to destroy creation. And in fact, he says so in his word that he's not going to destroy it. So there's a confusion of a passage in 2 Peter, so I'm going to turn to that now, where a lot of people believe that God's just going to burn up in the end anyway, so why bother taking care of it? In 2 Peter chapter 3, talks about the day of the Lord. It's referred to as the last days. And let me find here. It says in verse number 5 of chapter 3, but they deliberately forget that long ago, by God's word, the heavens existed, and the earth was formed out of water and by water. By these waters also the world of that time was deluged and destroyed. So you're talking about the flood, right? So the context here is the flood. By the same word, the present heavens and earth are reserved for fire, being kept for the day of judgment and destruction of ungodly men. So then let's jump to verse 10. But the day of the Lord will come like a thief. The heavens will disappear with a roar. The elements will be destroyed by fire, and the earth and everything in it will be laid bare. Well, that, my friends, is a very confusing passage, because if we read it literally, just as what it says, it seems to me like God's going to wipe this thing out. But when you take a look at it in context, understanding what Peter is saying, is we see that the context is the flood. And so what happened when God flooded the earth, or God allowed this flood to take place? Is everything was laid bare. Everything was cleansed. It was not destroyed in its complete sense, but it was cleansed for a new creation, so to speak. The first creation was cleansed by the flood, and now it grows. The hope was, of course, sin would be cleansed. It wasn't. But the earth wasn't destroyed. God promised to never do that again. And so that's the context we see here, is that in the day of the Lord, God is going to cleanse, not by water this time, but by fire. And 99.9% times in the Bible, every time you hear fire, it is not a destroying factor of fire. It is a cleansing or purifying use of fire. And so what God says in this passage is God's going to cleanse the earth. Heavens and earth. God's going to cleanse the earth by fire. He's going to purify it. Now, I don't know what that means, but it's used in the same sense of the flood. It's going to be laid bare. That's the language. So it's going to be purified by fire, not destroyed. So this earth is where we will live for eternity. It'll be a new heavens and a new earth. The language here is the first earth has passed away, and there'll be a new heavens and a new earth. So that's death and resurrection language. And so we will live on a renewed earth. This earth will experience a resurrection. I don't know what that means. It's going to be cleansed by fire. I don't know what that looks like. But the language is very clear. We will live for eternity on this planet. And so we can't destroy it. We can't abuse it. We can't exploit it. That's not the calling of Christians. The Christians are renewing the calling given to Adam and Eve to subdue and to take care of creation. So we are environmentalists in the purest sense, not all the political stuff added to it, but we are to take care of creation. It's not going to be destroyed in its final sense in the day of the Lord. It's going to be cleansed and purified. Just like us, we're going to be cleansed and purified. That's the language that Paul uses in Corinthians, that we will be purified. The bad will be destroyed. The good will be cleansed. So there you go. All right, so that was an answer to a question, hopefully, to the person who asked that question that was helpful. Now, this coming Sunday, we're going to do Act 3 of the Story of God series, which is Israel. And what we're going to do is we're going to start at Genesis chapter 12, and we're going to go all the way through the Old Testament. And of course, we can't do that in a small, short time. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit a few highlights or a few points on the journey of the family of God in the Old Testament, and really just setting things up, pointing to Jesus. So that's the plan on Sunday. I think this will be one of those sermons that mind will be blown. I remember when I studied this and learned these kind of high points along the way in the story it tells, I was blown away. So I hope that God speaks to you as he spoke to me in my study and prep, and that you have a better understanding of the Old Testament and how it all points to Jesus. I hope you have a great weekend, everybody. And I will talk to you very soon on Sunday. See you Sunday morning. And make sure to read the email, and you'll see all the announcements of things coming up. That's it. Grace and peace, everyone. Take care.